How many times have you broken the number one rule in off-roading? Never wheel alone. However, it's not always a bad thing to wheel alone, and sometimes you can't get a group to go out with you. So in this video, I'm going to cover the things I carry with me so I can recover myself, fix broken parts, and anything that might come up along the way to make sure I can get out safely and still have a good time while wheeling alone, even though you're not supposed to. So one of the most important things you can have with you is a first aid kit. Doesn't have to be anything fancy, but keep some basic first aid with you in case you happen to get injured while you're out there. At least you can stop the bleeding. It never hurts to have a good first aid kit with you in your kit. The next thing I like to carry is an air compressor. I have the dual ARB in the case. I like to keep this with me. It can air up all 4 tires with my speed flight system. In about 3 minutes, I can have everything from about 18, 19 pounds back up to 33 pounds while I'm driving on the road. It also comes in handy, what happens if you get a flat tire while you're out off-roading? If you get a flat, you have a puncture kit, you can pump air back into it, you don't have to worry about putting on the spare. In order to keep the tires fully inflated on your vehicle, never hurts to have a good air compressor with you. Next thing to keep is a little block of 2x4. It comes in handy when you're jacking things up, but you need to get a little more elevation for the jack. Always comes in handy to have a good 2x4 along in your kit as well. I keep 2 boxes in the back to try to keep everything organized. The first box I have has a bunch of bolts for the shock mounts. I have spare grease fittings in here. I got one of the speed deflators from my TerraFlex Nomad wheels. In case it has a leak or a break one off, I can easily put one back on. I got fender clips. If you don't know, always keep spare fender clips with you. These things come in very handy. They're very prone to break, and you want to keep your fenders on, keep a handful of these with you. I did make these, but you can buy them from Mopar. You can get them on Amazon as well. Not too expensive. And it has spare lug nuts, zip ties, and whatnot in here. Just miscellaneous stuff that you might need while you're out and you break something. In the next box, I have some more goodies in here. I have a jump start kit. This one's made by Noco, but this way, if I get a dead battery while out on the trail, I can jump myself. Again, if you're out by yourself, you don't have else you can jump off of. Have a little jump kit, you can jump yourself. This is good for, I think, 3 or 4 starts. Also keep a quart of oil. You never know when you might need a little oil. I haven't burnt oil out there before. I never had a leak or anything, but I'd rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it. I keep an assortment of fuses. Again, never blew a fuse out in the trail or anything, but never hurts to have fuses with you, especially the fuses for anything important. Always good to have some spare fuses with you. Then I have some Loctite in case I have to do any trail repairs or anything. And also keep a steel stick. This is made by JB Weld. It's basically if I get a hole in the fuel tank or something, I can use this to putty it up and keep everything from leaking. Also works in the bottom of oil pan. And the cool thing with this version of the steel stick, it's also oil and gas resistant, so you can use it on those kind of liquids as well and it won't deteriorate. And not a permanent fix, but it will get you off the trail and get you back home. The next things I have are some recovery gear. I do have a 10,000 pound winch in the front of the Jeep, which is super important because if you don't have anyone else out there, you can't have anyone pull you out. So having a winch allows me to pull myself out of things that might be kind of sketchy. I also have a snatch block ring. I chose the ring versus a traditional snatch block because it keeps it a closed system. It has little teeth that keep the rope in here. It's also safe for your synthetic lines. And then I have lots of soft shackles where you can actually hook up your snatch ring and get yourself out. So, and the cool thing with this, in case you don't know, the snatch rings are important because if you end up getting yourself really stuck in mud and you have a lot of suction, your Jeep can be technically more than 10,000 pounds of pulling force to get it out. By using a snatch block, you effectively double your pulling power, so that 10,000 pound winch now turns into a 20,000 pound winch. I have no affiliation with Factor 55, but these things are pretty good, and I like the idea of having a closed system. There's less things that can fly off. If a line were to break, it's a lot safer. If you do have to go around a tree, it's best to use a tree saver. This will protect the tree. If you put the winch liner, it actually could eat through the tree and damage the tree. By using a tree saver, you can get yourself out. It spreads the weight of the pulling force across a larger surface than just the winch line itself, and it protects the tree. And lastly, I got a recovery strap. I don't have any of the fancy like yankum ropes that have like the kinetic lines or anything like that. I've never been in a situation where I need that. Out on the East Coast, you don't have a lot of that stuff, so I've never had a need for it. And quite frankly, I do wheel alone a lot, so it's not gonna do me any good if I'm out trying to winch to something. So having a nice recovery rope, or in this case, a recovery strap, comes in handy as well. I have a nice bottle jack as well. I don't have a, what is it called? The high lift jacks. I'm kind of a little afraid of them. They're a little dangerous. And if you don't use it a lot, they can become very dangerous and get jammed. And again, if you're out by yourself, you don't want to put yourself in any kind of situation where you actually might injure yourself. So I chose not to go high lift. I just have a nice, I have a nice 6-ton bottle jack, and I also have the jack that came with it. And this is where the block of wood comes in handy. Because if you have to shore it up on the ground to give a little more surface area on the ground, or you need to get it against the bottom of the Jeep, between a block of wood and a good bottle jack, I've never needed a high lift jack since I've been off-roading. I also get a couple of ratchet straps. It might seem like a silly thing to get, but if you break a track bar off your axle or the frame, these things come in very handy. You can do a lot of creative ideas. Sorry for the wind, it's extremely windy out here today. You can do a lot of creative fixes with the ratchet strap. Again, this is not a permanent fix, but if you're out in the middle of nowhere and you're by yourself, if you have a way to get yourself off the trail and back to civilization where you can get a tow or something like that, these things come in very handy and they're invaluable off-road. I have a nice headlight. If you're out after dark, headlights come in handy. You can see underneath, you can tie it to you and everything. You don't have to worry about holding a flashlight. It'll work for you. And lastly, I carry a lighter. This lighter is one of the battery powered ones. It runs off a little arc, so it's like a taser inside, but it's a nice lighter. And this is in case you're really going off for a while. Let's say you're going up into the high altitudes in Colorado, off-roading there, and the weather there can change quickly. So I always make sure I have enough food and water. It could be those little, not an MRE, but like a Mountain House freeze-dried meal where you just add hot water or mix it. Lighter comes in handy for a lot of things there. I do have one last thing I like to carry. This is my, if I get a flat tire, like a puncture, you got the little straps here, you got all the tools, you got the grease, and here I also have spare Schrader valves. I have the tools to take the Schrader valves out. I got valve stem, valve caps, and lastly, I carry one of these with me as well, and this is not so much a problem with the tires I have on now, but the stock wheels had the valve stem exposed and you can rip it off. This is an emergency valve stem repair kit. And again, it's not a permanent fix, but this will get you home and get you home safely and get you off the trail without having to call in any kind of, off-road recovery or anything like that. Now I keep all this stuff in a nice box in the back of the Jeep. I keep it with me most of the time because you never know if you're going to find someone out somewhere that needs help or if you need to help yourself. So remember, if you're going off-roading by yourself, even though you're really not supposed to, but if you do, go prepared. I keep a toolkit in the back of the Jeep when I'm off-roading so I can fix anything on the Jeep that might break. I've done all the modifications to the Jeep myself. So the lift kit, all the stuff I did, the suspension, I've done myself. So if it breaks, I know how to fix it and I won't be stranded somewhere. I don't have everything, but I have 90% of what you need to go off-roading with. I have enough to get me back home. It's not going to be permanent fixes, but it'll get you back home off the trail and make you go out and have fun another time. If you liked the video, please make sure to like, subscribe, and share. It does help out the channel quite a bit. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thank you for watching.